Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you from McCollum Wellness Radio. And the title of today's show is They Built the Pyramid Upside Down. And I think you'll see a lot of this going on in the news these days and talking about the food industry, the drug industry, and the insurance industry, and how much money they actually have spent on creating this machine that actually spits out sick people on the other end. So today I'm going to go through a lot of different factors. We're going to be talking about my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. And if you haven't got that book, if you email my office, info@mccollumwellness.com, and put clock in the title, I will send you a free version of the digital version so you can find out yourself. So I'm going to go through a lot of the points that I'm going to make here. But, the one of the main things, and I talk about this on early on in the book about turning back the biological clock. And on page 43, I have a picture of the traditional pyramid, food pyramid, and then the ideal food pyramid. And, traditionally, what they've put out 50 plus years ago is the bottom part of the pyramid is the whitest one, obviously. And that's where they would want you to predominantly have that kind of food there. And what they have there traditionally is bread, grains, cereals, crackers, cookies, that kind of thing. Now we know that those are predominantly inflammatory substances. So when you eat a predominance of inflammatory grains, that it's going to cause a chain reaction in your body, which is going to cause insulin spike to handle the sugar spike. However, what will happen is this inflammation will occur at the cellular level and stop the cells from working well. So I have a cell here, a human cell, and it's basically there's 75 trillion of them in our body, and they are the live part of our body. They need to function well in order to keep us happy and healthy. So a lot of times we think you eat to satiate your stomach and your brain. That's true, but ultimately it all breaks down to fuel for the cells. So if you don't have fuel for the cells, then you're in trouble. One of the problems with today's diet is it's been filled up with so much chemically altered flavors in the processed food that our brains are designed to crave it. And the rather than spend the trillions of dollars on figuring out how to make us healthy, they spent the trillions of dollars to find out how to make us crave these foods that don't have nutrition in them. They're inflammatory. They're filled with additives, dyes, and various things that are going to make our body sick. And that's the result of this 50 plus year experiment is we're the sickest country in the industrialized world. 40% of us have diabetes, probably 80% of us are diabetic or pre-diabetic. 40% of the kids are overweight, and so many of them are diabetic. And autoimmune disease is rampant. There is no such thing as a healthy person. Oftentimes I have patients come and go, I'm healthy. And then I read the list of supplements, or not supplements, medications they're on. Sometimes they're on 5 or 10 medications. I had a gentleman come in the other day on 5 heart meds and then probably another 6 or 7 meds to combat what the heart meds were doing, let alone his digestive system, because that stuff was messing up his bowels. And then, the brain fog from the chemicals on the brain. It's really crazy and very unfortunate. So when we start to look at what we can do to bring our health around, we got to take a look at what we're putting in our body food wise. Now, one thing to be aware of, you can't change your diet and get healthy if you're sick anymore, really. What you really have to do is figure out what's making the body sick, what's making the cell sick. And I can tell you, there's heavy metals that we get in a lot of the food and the air and the water, the clothes we wear, get accumulated in our body and they plug up the receptors on our cells. I'm sure you see these all over the internet now. We've been talking about this since about 2017, drawing the cell and talking about why the receptors are blunted. So sugar can't get in the cell, hormones can't attach to the cell. So if insulin can't attach to the cell because the receptors are clogged up, then your body's not going to work well. So you can change your diet and eat less sugar-filled food or less processed food, but kind of the damage is done. You have to rebuild the body from the inside out. You have to fix the cell to get well. And I'll go into that a little bit more as we go. However, I do want to say, no matter all of that, what I'm talking about, you do want to change your diet. It's just not going to solve your problem. So it's going to stop it from rapidly progressing in the wrong direction. So the bottom of the old traditional food pyramid has bread, grains, cereal, rice, pasta, and dairy products in it. Most of them are highly processed, and the dairy comes from cows that have eaten the grains sprayed with glyphosate. They've been injected with antibiotics because they're standing in their own stuff as they are being mass milked, and they're given hormones to produce more milk. So it's really important that you've got to understand. If you do understand this, great. If not, it's really as important as recognizing the elephant in the room. The food industry has done us harm. They have put together a system that has us sick. You just got to look at it. We are the wealthiest country in the world, but we're the sickest country in the world. And we spend $5 trillion on healthcare every year in this country. That works for somebody, but you know what? Because of the amount of communication that we have out on social media now and some of the platforms that don't stop good information from getting out there, sure, there's bad information too, but the individual has to be wise enough to be able to do the research to find out what's true or bad. This idea that we as individuals, like one of the Bugs Bunny commercials, they used to say the stupid people's voice, you know, and we're not that stupid, but when we don't have information to evaluate and we're so stressed out trying to make a living, going, 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 we take the money we have, we spend it on the food that will make us happy and satisfy us because of the stress we're under. Oftentimes we've been driven down this path to buying bad food. And we've got to get rid of that. Now, obviously, it's happening in Washington. RFK is making a huge splash, and he's made a lot of people, a lot of enemies. But a lot of the enemies are from people that are making a lot of money off of the peoples of Earth. And we are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. Einstein said you can't do the same thing and expect a different result. So it's time to start to realize that in order to change your health, you've got to do something different. Now, food, the pyramid being corrected is awesome. There's a much larger situation that needs to be handled, but it's got to start with the food. But I don't want anybody to get the impression that food alone is going to change your health condition. It will help, but there's a bigger issue. So now the new health pyramid, the bottom whitest part has nuts, oils, healthy fats, and healthy meats. Grass-fed meat, grass-fed chicken, grain. If it's grain, it's natural grown. It's pasture raised. The fish is not harvested from a fish farm where they're fed the rabbit pellets that are filled up with glyphosate and the alfalfa that's sprayed with chemical fertilizers. So those fish, the meat is not the same you're going to get from wild fish. So the bottom of the pyramid, the first rung, started with bread, cereal, rice, pasta, dairy, and all it's created is an unhealthy, round, overweight society. Now, depending on the individual, and there are different dietary changes that are going to work for each of us. And just know that none of them last. You need to rotate out of them and into them. The body loves change, even though you and me don't like change mentally. The body needs it in order to harden itself to the environment and to be able to survive. So, again, the bottom, the new health pyramid, different types of nuts, oils, healthy oils, coconut oil, avocado oil, butter, ghee, tallow, things like that are going to be the ones that help the brain function well. They help the cells work. They help your digestive system. And they also make sure that you're getting the hormones made because hormones require a certain amount of healthy oils. So anytime you put bad oils in your body, I think Dr. Paskin says that it takes 152 days for the body to process through those bad oils out of the cells. So the second tier on the old pyramid was vegetables, dairy servings, fruit, and dairy daily. Now we want vegetables and greenery. So we really want to make sure that we're getting organic vegetables, organic, different types of fruits and vegetables. 3 servings of vegetables and 2 of fruit is what we're recommending. Now it's important that if the best thing is to go to farmers market. Not everybody has time to do that or can do that. But just know that different soils have different nutrients and elements in it based on the area and the history of how that soil was created from glacier melt or volcanoes or, just the flooding of the plains that brings in the nutrients that gets into the soil that is important to grow healthy vegetables, fruits, trees, and grains and feed for animals. So a lot of times, if you go to the farmer's market, there's a microbiome in the dirt. Just like you have a microbiome in your gut that breaks down your food stuff for you so you can digest it. There's a microbiome in the soils that breaks down the nutrients so that the plant could absorb it. If you put a plant, try to plant a seed in the ground with no microbiome, no little critters to break down the soil, it will not grow. It won't flourish. So it may sprout with water, but the viruses, the bacteria, the microorganisms in the ground are what break down the nutrients like the vitamins and minerals and various other things in the soil so that the plant can absorb it. Then we eat that. And without our own microbiome, the bugs in our gut, the friendly flora, the bacteria, the wide spectrum of these bacteria to help break down the food so that we can absorb it, we're in trouble. So the top of the old pyramid was this, the tiny tip was oils, fats, and greenery. And the meat and protein section was up near the top. The milk and egg and dairy was up at the top, but they don't specify the organics, the grass-fed, pesticide, hormone-free foods that we need in order to get our brain functioning well and our nervous system and our immune system working well. So the fruits and berries, especially the blue and dark black fruits and vegetables like the blueberries, blackberries, and those kinds of things, they're very rich in polyphenols. They're very good for your brain. You want to be careful because even blueberries, I was reading the other day about the toxins that are in blueberries and that it's really important to get organic ones. And if they're not organic, you soak them in vinegar to pull those toxins out. You can look that up yourself. But the biggest thing that's happened this year health wise is that RFK and the boys and girls up there, women that are working to debunk and tear down this terrible machine that is spitting out sick bodies, has turned the pyramid, corrected it so it's right side up now. So get familiar with it, find out what it is that you need to change in your diet. Also, take a look at what they're trying to eliminate, what kind of toxins, the palm oils, the canola oil. Just do yourself a favor. Google how is canola oil made? And watch the videos on it. You watch it once, and I don't think you'll ever have canola oil again in your life without knowing it, right? So that's going to be important because, see, the thing is, and when all of this stuff that we put in our body, that is being used to regenerate our 75 trillion cells every day. It's regenerating our nervous system. Our nerves are actually made up of cells, and our nerves, a lot of people don't understand. Nerves need oxygen, they need nutrients, and they need protection, just like the rest of our body. And one of the big things we see in our office is peripheral neuropathy. And, I'm very happy to say we've been very effective in helping people. I had a gentleman today. We do a retest. It was his third test in 6 months. And he went from 57 percent loss of sensory in his left foot to 22% in his left foot. And he went from 63 in his right foot to 18 in his right foot. So that means we've regrown those nerves by almost two-thirds. Now, he loves to hunt. He goes out and, he's about 84 years old. He still loves to go out and hunt birds, which you may or may not appreciate, but he's got his life. And when he first came in, he said, I just want you to be honest with me. Can you help me? Now, there's never a guarantee in anything, and I told him that, but I did mention that we've helped so many people with his type of condition, this peripheral neuropathy, and I said, this is classic to what we treat every day. And I will let you know when you come in, is this something that we think we can help? Now, I mentioned earlier, and I did last week, that I'm reading out of my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. It's a bestseller on Amazon, and I'm offering it for free if you want to email info@mccollumwellness.com, because so many people don't know what their first step should be to become healthy. So if you email info@McCollum Family Chiropractic, excuse me, at McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com. Either one will work, but McCollum Family Chiropractic. I will send you a digital copy of my book. And then that way you can take a look at it. And if it makes sense, let me know. So we're talking about we started talking about peripheral neuropathy and what that is. That's the dying of your nerves. And what that looks like, if anybody is watching this online, we do thermographic imagings of your feet. So we do heat sensor imagings of your feet, and hands. What we want to see is a nice big yellow healthy foot. If we see that yellow turn to orange, purple, blue, and then black, we know that that is a breakdown of the nerves and a breakdown of the oxygen to the area. When that happens, we see the nerve. This would be the nerve that comes out of the brain. That yellow thing would be like the light the cord that goes into the wall. This yellow thing would be like the copper wire. And then there's a sheath around that copper wire, which is called the myelin sheath. And this picture I'm showing, it's the red and blue, which is loaded up with trillions and trillions of blood vessels. Those trillions and trillions of blood vessels feed oxygen and nutrients to the nerves to keep them healthy. When that sheath breaks down for some reason, from injury, from toxicity, from solvents, being a mechanic, things being a painter or working on a body shop, or just exposed to the chemicals of a farm. That starts to break down that delicate sheath, and the nerves start to die. And you can see how they start to break down. That is peripheral neuropathy. We can rebuild these nerves if we catch them soon enough through techniques we do at our office and have you do stuff at home. This happens over quite a long period of time, and it does take a lot of work and patience on your part to get it handled, but it's worth doing. So, on page 71 in my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, New Hope for Peripheral Neuropathy, I talk about the nerves. I show this diagram so you can understand what's going on with your nerves. Also, adjacent to it is a page that says toxins lead to chronic inflammation, chronic disease, and peripheral neuropathy. So, toxins cause chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation ends up being chronic disease, which will lead to chronic peripheral neuropathy, as well as a lot of other diseases out there. That's why what's going on in Washington right now is so important, and why RFK is doing such a great job of taking the hits from decades of people in those groups that do not have our best interests at heart. I'm being careful on what I say because I am running this on Facebook and I've been taken down quite a bit for whatever reason. I don't want that to happen. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic. And again, get my book if you want for free. But start to take a look at the information online. There's so much stuff. I'm going to be doing some videos. We did this years ago, but looking at different products in the stores and finding out how to find good ones or bad ones. I just went and bought some peanut butter the other day, organic peanut butter. As I was looking at the back of the labels, the ones that I was going to buy said peanuts, second ingredients, palm oil. And I went, what? Because sometimes I don't read the labels just like the rest of us. And I went, wow, palm oil, that's not even digestible to the body. So thank God I saw that. A lot of times, if you read the labels, you're going to find out there's 40 ingredients in something that has one name on the label, right? So you want to learn how to watch what you're eating. What we recommend is when you do shop, and if you go to farmers markets, great. But if you go into the grocery store, go around the perimeters because those are usually where you're going to get the fresh produce, the dairy, the meat, and then potentially some, if you go to some of the big markets around here, then they have pre-served food for you. But in the aisles, that's where all the canned and packaged stuff is. You'll see a whole aisle dedicated to the many different types of bagged chips. Just a whole 40 feet of different types of bagged chips. Now, those have no nutrition in them. They're filled with toxins, they're filled with dyes, they're filled with flavor enhancers like MSG, but new ones that have been created to trick the brain into craving this stuff. You can decide to eat a whole bag of these chips and not get any nutrition, and you can't even put it down because you just kept craving it and craving it. So science has gotten so advanced that they can trick your brain into wanting stuff that you know is bad for you. Pretty crazy. So one thing that when we look at the cell and we call it, say, fix the cell to get well, I'm going to pull up my cell again. This is, for those of you watching this is a human cell. Now, the cell is when one egg and one sperm come together, that's called the first cell. So you start off as a single cell, and then within 16 days, you've changed into 16 cells. And from there, all hell breaks loose. By the time you come into this world at 39, 40 weeks, you have a complete working system. eyes, ears, nose, skin, all of the senses are working, limbs are working, organs are working. Behind me here, this is the a chart of the organs of the body and the nerves that go to it. This is the parasympathetic nervous system. It's a rest and digest nervous system. It's a system that has been damaged so badly, the parasympathetic, because of the stress in our life that's been causing the other nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, to dump cortisol into our body to such a point that it causes inflammation in the joints and in the tissue and in the organs and in the brain. So this chronic cortisol is very damaging. Now, we do need it in short bits and pieces, but the chronic stress is terrible for us, and we've got to be able to um, combat it and stop it. Excuse me. I'm allergic to cortisol. Even the word makes me sneeze. So when we talk about fixing the cell to get well, and on my book on page 133, there's a diagram of a cell. This is my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. I'm giving it away because I really want people to be able to become healthier. And if you just send an email to info@mccollumfamilychiropractic.com, I'll send you a copy of a digital version of it. But you can see that when you have a normal cell, it has receptors on it. I'm going to stick my fingers on either side of these cells. Each one of these fingers is a receptor for a different type of substance. It could be a vitamin, a mineral, a hormone, neurotransmitter, or what have you. And when that particular substance comes along, like insulin, it would attach to this receptor and open the gate to let sugar in so it gets out of the body and into the cell where it can be utilized and burned as fuel. When these, um, just imagine putting wool mittens and on your fingers so that you can't even tell where the fingers are. So when those cells swell up, it becomes the receptors become very, very damaged, and it can't read the signal of the insulin or the estrogen, the progesterone, testosterone, thyroid hormone. All of those things cannot be, those receptors are blunted. So the cells go in a scarcity mode. They think that they're in a deficient mode. And so then they start to shut down and the body starts to shut down. So we want to make sure to turn those cells on. But most importantly, is you've got to fix the cell to get well. Now, there is no shortcut here. And one of the first things that you should take a look at is how many times you're going to the bathroom a day or a week. I used to ask patients, how many bowel movements do you have in a day? And they'd go, oh, one. Then I got an idea. Well, then I ask a week, how many a week? And I'd find out 4 to 5. This is completely inadequate and it's plugging up the sink and we got dirty water in the sink. In other words, if you're not going to the bathroom 2 to 3 times a day, then you are not eliminating toxins efficiently. And those toxins are backing up into your systems, into the bloodstream. The lymphatics are not able to be drained correctly. And then your immune system is internally fighting this internal debris, and it's not going to be as available to fight off the outside intruders. Your body's constantly trying to correct itself anyway. It's constantly breaking down old bad senescent cells that are no longer helpful so that you can get new healthy cells to grow. That's normal. But when these systems get blunted, the brain tilts. Like those of you who used to play a pinball machine, it tilts. And then it can't read the inside of the body correctly and it can't react correctly. So bad things happen. And those bad things mean those cells don't die, they become zombie cells, and then they become freeloaders that are littering your body. A lot of times when you get freeloaders, they don't even take care of their own area. It becomes a mess. Well, senescent cells are old used up cells that have done their time. That's what they do. They end up creating a problem for you. They end up creating inflammation and toxicity, and that garbage attracts more garbage so that you get all these heavy metals, molds, and different types of things, even protozoa or parasites contaminating the area. I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I just want to invite you into my office, McCollum Family Chiropractic. We are located in the Brown Ranch Shopping Center across from Macy's or the Olive Garden. And, we have so many ways to help you. We have the soft wave therapy machine and now the hydrowave, two different types of stem cell machines that drive your own stem cells from floating around randomly in your body to the site that they need to be at to help your body rebuild itself. I just mentioned senescent cells or old dying cells or useless cells. This soft wave therapy actually helps break down the senescent cells in the area and signal the body to bring in new cells. I can tell you that on my low back, where I broke it when I was 12, I actually have seen a 3 millimeter increase in the size of my lumbar disc, where I was down to zero. And the orthopedic radiologist told me I needed surgery. This was in 2021. 2026, I'm doing fine. I playing pickleball. I'm out there having a good time, and my body doesn't bother me. So we have a $49 special for TRT special, $99 for all of our peripheral neuropathy testing, including digital x-rays, a soft wave treatment, and a follow-up review of findings with me. We test all of those nerves. And then if you just want to find out if we can help you, $37 for a full set of digital x-rays and a next day report. So this is our way of saying, let us help you start the year healthy. Maybe you don't know which way to go. Call 831-459-9990, 831-459-9990, and we can help. See you then. All right, I'm back. This is Dr. McCollum, and I'm talking to y'all about the name of this program is They Built the Pyramid Upside Down. And so what we're trying to do is write that pyramid and get the understanding of what it takes to turn your life around and your body and your health around. So um, it's so important to understand that you've got to learn what's healthy and not healthy. You got to get rid of those bad oils out of your house, and you really don't even want to have a little of them because it kickstarts that bad cycle again. So when you look at the new health pyramid, you see all on the biggest side of it, you're going to see the healthy meats, the healthy oils, the healthy vegetables, the dark blue, purple, and black vegetables that are like the berries that are filled with polyphenols, and then the healthy coconut oils and avocado oils and butters. Those things are really good. They're calling for whole milk now. We've known this for years. For ever since I was a kid, I never liked anything from but whole milk. And I didn't really understand why, other than taste. But we were fed a bill of goods that said that Mother Nature didn't know how to make milk. And we need to remake it because Mother Nature didn't do a good enough job. So they started homogenizing it, which means they make everything the same. They make every one of the they make every fat molecule the same size, where in God darn it, non my internet connection just blew out, so excuse me. But when they homogenize milk, they take those fats and they make them all one size. You need to have those various size fats and proteins in the milk and whole milk because when you digest it, your body's going to use different ones for different types. I'll give you an example. Butter is made of, it's called butyric acid. It comes from dairy, obviously. It's a short chain or a medium chain fatty acid. And you need those medium chain fatty acids because they're good. They have a great immune system. They're very good for your immune system. So it's so important that we utilize that for our body. And I'm just going to start this again. Excuse me. There we go. Technical difficulties. That's what's cool about live radio is you do have technical difficulties, but you know what? What you think about, you talk about, and what you talk about, you bring about. And what I'm trying to do is bring about in you the little more awareness, if you're interested in this, on how to think so that your body can stay as healthy as possible. So we're talking about my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. So I'm promoting it because I'm giving it away. It's free. There's some good information in here, and I want you to understand what it can do to help you be healthy. There's we know that when our food pyramid was built upside down, the results have left us with overweight and unhealthy. Um, if you clean living lifestyle would be eating, natural farm grown veggies, grass-fed beef, grass-finished beef, free-range chicken, and fish from the sea, not farmed fish. And then, toxins and additives. You just got to be aware of what's going on and get that stuff out of your food supply. A healthcare system is built for big industry. They only profit from people being sick. There's nothing that will cause a bigger profit to the food and drug companies than a sick child, because a sick child becomes a sick adult. So they manage your disease all the way through those years. And just think about how many kids are sick. Right now, something like 80% of the children are sick. We have 60% have a chronic disease, one chronic disease. Ridiculous, right? When I was a kid, nobody hadn't even heard of a chronic autoimmune disease, right? Of course, that was last century. So the health companies profit when you're sick. Things like gluten, sugar, and the GMOs are very terrible for building a strong body and a strong immune system. Got to stay away from them. So all that processed food has to go if you're going to stay healthy. So leaky gut and inflamed cells are bad. Leaky gut is when the toxins that we consume disrupt or damage the interior wall of our large intestine. This thing, if you're looking on the clock, on this program, the large intestine, those walls blow apart, allowing bad particles to come out of your intestines into your bloodstream. Just think, do you want stuff from your large intestine leaking into your bloodstream? I don't. There's a certain gates and channels that are in tight junctions that are specifically designed to keep the stuff, fill in the blank, out of your blood supply. When it does leak through into your blood supply, through all of that digestive gut blood mesh, blood vessel mesh, it's an incredible system there. It's got its own name, and it's still not even fully understood how we take food stuff, put it in our intestines, bugs from the environment that live in our intestines break it down and send it into our body. This huge blood vessel network has enzymes and chemicals, acids and bases, and breaks down that food into the exact constituents that we need for each one of those 75 trillion cells to get well and stay well and function healthy. So imagine if you, and it needs to be supplied constantly. So just imagine if you had, DoorDash that had to feed 75 trillion cells. Everyone had a different recipe that it needed constantly, 24/7 for 100 years. You know, your body has to work pretty well. You don't want to booby trap it. If you have inflammation in your body, you're booby trapping your health. And if you have inflammation in your body, you're shortening your lifespan, you're increasing the risk of uh, having trouble like brain fog, Alzheimer's. You're turning on bad genes. So any inflammation that gets in the cell, and it gets in the cell when the cell walls are messed up, will not allow the toxins to get out of your body any more than they'll allow the fuel to get into the cells. It won't let the toxins get out of the cell any more than it will allow the fuel to get in the cell. So the fuel stays, or the toxins stay in the cell. It's like smoke inside your car. The exhaust is leaking in your car, and it damages all of the little organelles, they're called, tiny organs inside of the cell. When that happens, they can't work right. They're on survival mechanism. They shut down essential functions to try to stop the cell from dying. So the more we can flush and flush and flush this bad stuff out of our body, the better our life potential can be. So it's so important that, we start to learn. So get the book, look online. There's a lot of people talking about things. When you go into the stores, start to read labels. And if you don't understand a word or term, don't buy it. Then go research it. There's little apps you can get on your phone. Think Dirty was one of them. There's so many more now. You can just take a picture of the code on this on the barcode on the food, and it will tell you exactly what it's made of, if it's good or bad or what have you. So I recommend you start to become a more informed shopper, especially when it comes to food. So leaky gut and inflamed cells are bad. Autoimmune disease makes you sad. It's a bad thing. It ruins your life. And autoimmune disease means auto, your body's fighting itself. It's your immune system is fighting you because it doesn't know where the enemy is. How crazy and backwards is that, that your body would be trying to destroy itself from within? So that's happening because the body's confused. The nervous system's confused, the immune system's confused, and it's trying to destroy itself. It almost works like a chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is designed to kill the cancer before it kills the body. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But autoimmune is the same thing. It's trying to kill whatever's making the body worse before it kills the body. And most of the time, it kills the body, never knowing what it is it was supposed to be killing. That's autoimmune disease. And it's rampant. Quote, nobody knows the cause, quote, unquote. The cause is toxicity at a cellular level, causing chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation causes chronic disease. Nobody dies of old age anymore. They die of chronic disease. My grandpa lived to be 100 and no, my grandpa lived to be 97, died of old age. He probably wouldn't have died except for he got hit by a car when he was 80. Some little girl walked out in the street and got hit by a car. He went to help her. He got hit by a car, flew 50 feet and landed on the back of his head or his neck, broke his neck and his leg. The bones wouldn't heal, so he had a metal leg, but he still lived another 17 years, telling jokes, singing vaudeville, talking all of his different dialects, but he died of old age. My mother-in-law just passed away at 104, not on any medications at all. And she was born in 1921. No, they tried to put her on, when she was in her 70s, a doctor tried to put her on heart medicine, high blood pressure medicine. And she goes, I don't have high blood pressure. And he goes, Beth, I just took your blood pressure. It's high. She goes, well, you just pinched me with that cuff. And he goes, Beth, you have high blood pressure. I want you to take these pills. So Beth goes home, on the way, stops and buys a blood pressure cuff. Then she proceeds to take her blood pressure 4 times a day for 4 days. It's low, normal. She goes to the doctor, shows him the results, and says, here's your pills. I don't want them. You take them. That was in her 70s. She lived for another 50 years, not on one medication. So why? Because she came from a strong dietary background. A lot of those things, foods those days, didn't have chemicals and stuff in them. They were grown on farms. They were not mass produced. So this is, so important that we are able to understand why are some people get sick and why do some people not get sick. So, and it has to do with genetics for sure, but what turns genes on? Toxins. All of us have cancer genes. All of us have Alzheimer's genes. All of us have diabetes genes. We have all this colon cancer. We have it all. Why aren't we dying of everything? We should just be lying on the ground, flailing with every possible disease known to, this human species that we're in. Why aren't we dying from all that? Because they're not turned on. Those genes are not turned on. Why? Because they haven't been exposed to toxins to turn them on. So, eventually you pick at it and pick at it and pick at it, pick at it, it's going to bleed. So if you keep adding these toxins to the body, pretty soon it's going to bleed. So diabetes steals your life today. I mean, it's so many people come in here my office and they're diabetic and they're on one of many different drugs. None of those drugs are fixing the problem. They're covering up the symptom. That's why big business exists in the pharmaceutical industry to manage you to the grave on all these diseases. Now, people come in and they want help, but there is no magic bullet, and you'll see it all over the internet. Just this one thing. I had a gentleman come in the other day who'd come to one of my peripheral neuropathy workshops. We worked up his symptoms and his all of the signs that showed that he had it and how far down those nerves were. And he chose to, not allow us to help him, and that's fine. We're just here to help those that want help and think we can help them. And of course, if we think we can help them, we'll let them know. If not, we'll tell them. And there's a lot of reasons why we can or can't. Willingness is one of them. Amount of damage, cause, all those things. So he came in and he goes, I saw somebody on the internet say that vitamin B12 drops. If I just buy a bottle of vitamin B12 drops and take it every day, it will turn my peripheral neuropathy around. Is that true? And he caught me out in the waiting room out of the blue. I wasn't expecting him. And I thought about it for a minute. I go, well, if it were true, we wouldn't have peripheral neuropathy because everybody would be taking vitamin B12. If your peripheral neuropathy is caused because of and only because of a vitamin B12 deficiency, then perhaps it would help it. But you still need the components to rebuild the cell. You still need the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the proteins, the fatty acids, amino acids necessary to rebuild the nerve tissue itself and the myelin sheath and to ward off the toxins as buffers as the body's rebuilding itself. So I wish I could say, yeah, vitamin B12 will rebuild your nerves. It could help, but there's got to be an upstream cause that is causing the disease in the first place. So that upstream cause is what my book gets into. So, you can find all kinds of relief and all kinds of tricks and bells and whistles on the internet and go for it, but not in lieu of actually seeing whether or not your body's healthy enough to keep you going. Okay. So um, it's so important that we actually pay attention to what we're putting into our body. So this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I'm coming to you from McCollum Family Chiropractic. This is McCollum Wellness Radio. I'm on here every week. I would love for you to share my show. If you would like more information, just email McCollum or info at McCollum Family Chiropractic, and we'd be more than happy to send you information. You could get a copy of my book for free, at least through the month of January. I'm offering that. And it's the second edition. New Hope for Peripheral Neuropathy, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. Forward by Dr. Dan Pompa, who I meet with regularly, along with about 30 other awesome doctors. Ben Azadi has commented on my book. He's in here. Mindy Pels has made a comment in here. All these people are in my support network. We all communicate and work together so that we can expand the knowledge of what's going on in the health field so that you can your body can get healthy. Because look, if I've been studying health, my first chiropractic adjustment was 50 years ago when I was 20 years old. And I've been working and studying health ever since then. I finally became a chiropractor when I was 33 years old. And so I've been practicing now for almost 37 years. And all I've done is studied nutrition, how bodies heal, and I've put so much time and energy and effort into trying to help people figure out how to do this. There's so much you can get on the internet, but some of it is skin deep and sensationalized. There are things that work and other things that will make you sicker while it makes you feel better. So just because you feel better doesn't mean your body's healing. And I'd hate for you to wake up one day and realize that you've been sold, a can of worms. So, do your research. Um, we're here. One of the things that, this you can take to the bank is we can 99.9% of the time we can help you with something to improve your health, whether it's pain level, energy, limb function, inflammation, peripheral neuropathy, different type of neuropathies, headaches, low back pain, shoulder pain. That's classic for me. I've been doing that for 37 years, and I know pretty much within the first few minutes whether you're a candidate for care in our office. We never charge to sit down and talk to anybody about this. So I would love the chance to talk to you. Call 831-459-9990 and talk to the staff and say, I listened to Dr. McCollum's show and I would love to come talk to him. They'll ask you a few questions, so I'm prepared for you when you come in. And if we can help you, great. If not, I understand. But, I'm here whether the doors are filled or not, and we're pretty much waiting lists most of the time. Occasionally we do have same day appointments, but I'm here to help and I want to help as many people as I can. It doesn't do me any good to sit on my duff. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. We've just got a couple minutes left. So I'm just going to read the back of the book here. It says, are you suffering from chronic disease and frustrated with managing symptoms through traditional medicine? There is hope. Look no further. This book will help. And it will. I've had so many people read this. We're going to walk you through the principles of regenerative healthcare, allowing your body to reverse the debilitating symptoms of peripheral neuropathy and other degenerative conditions associated with chronic disease and the normal aging process. So even the normal aging process can be biohacked. You've probably heard that term, biohack, so many times. And there's a dime a dozen of these things out there, some really great stuff and some that doesn't work. And with my group of doctors, we look at it all the time. So I'd love to meet you. My name is Dr. Duncan McCollum. My book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock, you can get it for free. Info at McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com and get you the digital version. Call my office, 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990, and be more than happy to see what we can do to help you. And this is again McCollum Wellness Radio. We play every week. Please tell other people about what we do. And I'd love for you to come get a free bottle of vitamin G. Hope you're having an awesome day. And we will talk to you on the flip side. Thank you very much.